One day, I discovered my beloved husband Mike was having an affair. I was finally pregnant after years of fertility treatments. In a few months, I was going to give birth. And it was during this time my husband had the audacity to say, "Leave." I decided to do exactly what he said. But make no mistake, I wasn't going down without a fight. I'm going to make him pay. A man who cheats on his pregnant wife deserves to be punished severely. My name is Karen, and I'm 32 years old. I've been married to Mike for 5 years. We met when I was 26 and started dating shortly thereafter. He was really into me, and just 6 months later, we tied the knot. You could say it was a whirlwind romance. My dad owns a business where my husband and I met. Thanks to my father's connections, Mike is considered a future CEO in the company. Don't get me wrong, I did love Mike, and our marriage was generally happy, but we faced a particular issue. We couldn't conceive a child. For 3 years after our wedding, we remained childless. Societal pressure pushed us to start fertility treatments. And now, after 5 years of marriage, we were finally expecting our first child. When I found out I was pregnant, I immediately called Mike. "Mike, I just came back from the doctor and..." "The doctor? Why?" "I'm pregnant." "What?" "It's our baby. We're finally going to have a baby." Tears welled up in my eyes, feeling like all my struggles had finally paid off. At last, my hard work had borne fruit. I'm pretty sure my voice was shaking over the phone, but my husband, Mike, didn't seem as thrilled as I was. Well, that's good." "That's good? Is that all you have to say? After all I've been through?"
"Well, we've spent both time and money on this. It would be a problem if it didn't work out."
Don't talk like that. I left work to focus on fertility treatments because you said you absolutely wanted kids.
Karen, you decided to go to those lengths yourself. Don't blame it on me.
Seriously? He said he was busy and abruptly hung up the phone. That's harsh. Why would he say something like that? Isn't Mike happy that we're going to have a baby? Thinking back, ever since we started fertility treatments, we've been drifting apart. We used to argue less, but in the 2 years since starting treatments, we've been talking less, and the closeness we had has faded. Still, I persisted because I love Mike. But having him brush off my pregnancy announcement was a huge blow. Time has passed since the pregnancy was confirmed, and I've entered the stable period. Although it's called a stable period, it's not a time to let down your guard. I'm still experiencing morning sickness, and my worries are far from over. Even when I had to take early maternity leave because of severe morning sickness, Mike was still out drinking and enjoying himself. He doesn't help with chores, so I have to do everything myself. I've asked for his cooperation multiple times, but he always says, "I'm working outside." It seemed like he didn't care to see me suffering. One day, I couldn't take it anymore and decided to have a face-to-face conversation with him. I wanted him to change his attitude towards our life together. That night, he came home after midnight from another drinking party. I confronted him as soon as he walked in. "What time do you think it is?" He looked visibly annoyed by my question.
"You're still awake? If you're having morning sickness, why don't you just go to sleep?"
Don't talk to me like that. Please be a little more cooperative.
What? I'm working so you can live comfortably,
I appreciate that, but I'm also not feeling well. I'd like you to help with chores, even just on your days off. Then he let out a deep sigh and continued.
Look, Being pregnant is not a disease. Why are you acting so needy?
All I want is a peaceful life during my pregnancy.
Really? You're unbelievable. I'm working my butt off and you want a peaceful life during pregnancy? Don't be so self-centered.
That's too harsh. You don't have to say it like that.
I really can't stand this anymore. I'll stay somewhere else for a while. Don't contact me.
Wait, Mike.
Goodbye.
My husband left the house with only the bare essentials, as if he couldn't hear my voice at all. Why is this happening? We were supposed to be excited about this pregnancy. How can he be so cold? Aren't spouses supposed to help each other when times are tough? I was shocked by his indifference, but even more than that, I felt angry at him. I tried to contact him several times, but he just snapped back.
Stop bothering me. Stay put until I call you.
Since that day, he didn't come home for a while. Today, I was feeling awful with morning sickness and was lying down in my room. Then, a call came in from an unknown number. Who could that be? If it's someone from work, their number should be saved in my phone already. With that thought in mind, I answered the call. Hello? Ah! You picked up! Is this Karen? Yes, it is. May I ask who's calling? Oh, me? I'm Betty, Mike's future wife. Excuse me? Are you talking about my husband, Mike? She laughed snidely over the phone. Who else would it be? I mean, why else would I be calling you? What's going on here? Future wife? Mike is already married to me. Yeah, so? I'm calling to ask you to divorce him. What? You've got some nerve. Nerve? I'm pregnant. You're... what? A kid needs a dad, right? So, divorce him quick. Bye! Wait a minute. She hung up. And no matter how many times I called back, she didn't answer. This future wife was likely a woman who had some sort of relationship with my husband. While I was struggling with morning sickness, he had been with another woman. I felt a wave of anger and sadness. I can't believe Mike was cheating on me. All those times he said he was going out for drinks must have been to meet her. I couldn't sit still and impulsively called my husband, who was at work. After about 8 rings, he finally picked up. What do you want? You're so annoying. Can't you tell I'm at work? You knew I was calling. Why did you keep ignoring? Whoa, Karen, what's the deal? I got a call from Betty. What? She said I should divorce you. His demeanor changed as soon as I laid out the facts. He was physically shaken and at a loss for words. I knew then he had been unfaithful. Looks like you were messing around with Betty. She's pregnant too, huh? What were you thinking? Shut up! That's none of your business, Karen. Excuse me? We're married, and I'm pregnant too. So what? Betty actually gets stuff done around the house when she's with me. Unlike you. Look, every pregnancy is different, you know. Enough! Let's get this clear. Betty is my number one. I'm not interested in a middle-aged woman like you, Karen. I was at a loss for words, stunned by his outrageous comments. He continued, thinking he had the upper hand. Betty is young, cute, and far more suitable for me than you are. Suitable? Are you delusional? Shut up! The cat's out of the bag. We're getting divorced, Karen. Really? Of course! Get out!
Betty and I are moving into the apartment. You don't belong here anymore. At that moment, an indescribable rage surged within me. I don't belong here. How dare you? You're the one who cheated. I'm done. If you think you've got it all figured out, well, I have a mind of my own too. I made it clear to my husband, who thought he'd successfully manipulated me and was getting too confident. I get it. Then I'm taking all the furniture and appliances. What? He sounded utterly dumbfounded. Any problems with that? Don't mess with me. If you take everything, where will we live? I don't care. I bought all the furniture and appliances, you know. What? No way. Forgot? We moved here 2 years ago for the fertility clinic. You told me to buy what I wanted. Just leave the essentials, like the washing machine and fridge. Fine, but you'll have to pay for them. What? Are you serious? His irritation was palpable, even through the phone. Finally, he yelled, "Fine, I'll pay," and hung up. Any chance of rebuilding our marriage was gone. I started packing my things. A few hours later, Betty, the other woman, called again. "Hey, Karen, heard you're moving out." "What about it?" "Just so you know, I'll be asking for compensation." "Compensation? Go ahead, charge whatever you want." "You seem pretty generous. Do you make a lot?" "Who, me? I was just working part-time. Quit that too." "So how will you afford the compensation?" "Of course, it's settled, Mike. The next CEO will cover all the expenses." "The next CEO?" My husband acting like he's the next CEO is out of left field. As far as I know, he's not financially well off, and he's terrible at saving money. He shouldn't even have the money to compensate for his affair. But she doesn't seem worried at all. She doesn't doubt him either. Anyway, as long as I get the compensation money, I don't care much. So, be ready. I'll demand as much compensation as I can. Sure. It won't hurt me one bit. That's true. Goodbye. I hung up and immediately blocked her number. The next day, I received the divorce papers. My husband acted quickly. I decided to return to my parents' home and submitted the divorce papers to the court on the way. Next, I got my lawyer to make a claim for damages against my ex-husband and his mistress. As expected, my ex-husband called me 2 weeks later. The first thing he did was yell, "Hey, Karen, what's going on?" "What do you mean?" "What do I mean? Why am I getting fired?" "Isn't it obvious? You paid me compensation money using company funds." "What? How did you—" "Did you think you wouldn't get caught, even though my father owns the company?" "Well, that's—" "He probably thought he could misuse some company funds because he had a decent position. I found it suspicious that he paid the full compensation amount right away. So I asked my father to investigate. And, sure enough, it was revealed that he paid the compensation using company money. It also came out that he had been embezzling from the company. When I told him this, he was suddenly lost for words and looked pathetic. "You're a scary woman." To him I said, "How are you going to pay the $150,000 sum of the compensation, child support, the $20,000 from Betty, the latest home appliances you left, and about $30,000 in embezzled funds?" Wait, there's no way I can pay that much money." "What? Not can't pay, but you will pay. You've been all confident so far, and now you say can't?" I'll eventually pay the compensation. Just don't get me fired. Please, tell your father." "My dad has already given up on you. A man who misuses company money and cheats on his pregnant daughter won't get any help." "Why? I'm supposed to be the next CEO. Why do you think I married you?" So that was it. His persistent proposals, his passionate approach, his rush to marry.
All of it was to aim for the CEO position, taking his own self-preservation more seriously than any remorse at this point. I was completely done with him. You think you'll be the next CEO just because you married the boss's daughter? Don't make me laugh. The world doesn't work that way. Don't underestimate my dad's company. But, isn't that how it usually goes? I wooed you, Karen, the boss's daughter, just for that. Sure. I was a fool for falling for it. But you think you can stay at my father's company after all this? After embezzlement and affairs? You think you can still hang around? You're the worst kind of man. Seems like my words hit a nerve. He began to sniffle over the phone. In a pathetic voice, he begged, "Help me." I had no mercy. You once told me that Karen had no place here, remember? Guess what? The one without a place is you. You've been fired and you're saddled with $150,000 in debt. Wait, I'll break up with Betty. Just help me. Shut up. I couldn't care less about what happens to a cheating man like you. Just focus on paying back every single penny for child support, compensation, and the company funds you misused. Get to work, you piece of trash. I hung up, blocked his number, and cut off all ties. He did try to show up at my parents' house, but even that was expected. He couldn't even get to meet me. My parents turned him away. Eventually, he somehow scrounged up the $150,000 in debt. When the other woman found out about the situation, she tried to end things, saying the baby she was carrying wasn't his. But his obsession was too much. He pressured her, saying, "Give me back the settlement money I paid for you, Betty. If you don't, then marry me," and more or less forced her into marriage. Eventually, they were pursued by debt collectors and forced into a life of extreme poverty, incomparable to their previous situation. Meanwhile, I recently gave birth to my daughter. I was honestly worried if I could truly love a child fathered by that man. But that concern turned out to be unnecessary. The child I gave birth to is more precious and lovable than anything. Thank you for coming into this world. I'll make sure you're happy, I murmured, gently gripping my tiny daughter's hand. It doesn't matter who the father is. This child is unmistakably mine. I vowed in my heart to live my best life to make her happy.